right, everyone, I think we're ready to begin and the recording in progress. So, welcome Rochester to the December Equity Series episode. My name is Wafa Elkhalifa and I work for Destination Medical Center as the Equitable Development Manager. I'm excited to have you all today. And I know it's the December episode. It's a bit difficult sometimes as people are taking time off for the holidays. And I'm here today without my partner, Chow Mutala, who serves the city of Rochester as Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Director. I hope that you utilize the chat today to first introduce yourself and which organization you're associated with. And also, when it comes to today's episode, I think you all gonna be the presenters today as we are wrapping 2025. We thought that we want to have the final episode for 2025 where you get to engage and you get to share with us your reflections and thoughts. So I want to, before we begin, invite you all to have your phones because we will have some QR codes for you to scan and to be able to share your thoughts and reflections. And I want to remind everyone of where you can access all our previous episodes. This is a screenshot as if yesterday. Can you believe it that we have 28 videos so far in our library? So we've launched the Equity Series, and for those who joining us today for the first time, we've launched the Equity Series in July of 2023, and it's a joint effort between the City of Rochester and Destination Medical Center, where we wanted to create a space virtually where people can log in. It's accessible during the lunch hour, where we can share best practices and case studies and information that could help all of us as individuals and organizations in Rochester to become more diverse and more equitable. And I am so glad that I see so many familiar faces that they have been with us right from the beginning. But if you're just joining us or it's your first couple episodes, I hope that you do take the time to go back and listen to the other episodes. Think of it as your local Rochester podcast, because we have brought in so many cool topics, consultants, and presenters. Now, if your organization has any questions about the Equity Alliance, or you would like to join us and play more of a partner role into how we can plan our episodes for 2026, or you want to join us in some of the initiatives that the City of Rochester and DMC are committing to, please contact me or my colleague Chow Matala. Will be more than happy to connect with you and your organization. Now, for today's episode, for this month's episode, as you probably all seen in the media release and the information that we share out in our social media platforms, that the topic today is looking back, moving forward, the Equity Series reflections. And we thought that as we're wrapping the year, it was a very rough year, I would say, with a lot of updates, a lot of things happening, a lot of executive orders. And as someone working in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, we have been swamped with a lot of things. And so the fact that we're able to pause today and to reflect back and see what topics that we have covered for 2025, and you help us today by choosing what are the topics that you value in your community and your organization's value, so we can make sure that we do include them in 2026. I want to begin by just, show gratitude and appreciation to our partners and presenters. These are the organizations that they have presented in the Equity Series in 2025. what an amazing mix that we've had. We've had Olmsted County, we've had the state of Minnesota, we've had Ellisina, Wale from the NAACP. We've also had a national organization, participatory budgeting from New York. We've had the Equity in the Built Environment program present to us. And if you all remember, the I think it's the most special episode of the year, the July episode, where it was an inaugural episode for the Disability Summit that was happening in Rochester. So seeing the ARC and the disability advocates and the community participate in the July episode. Rochester Public Schools. If you remember, we've had an episode with Lita Casper and talked about school homelessness and the project that successfully opened here in Rochester. And Cradle to Career that we just had last month, where we've learned about some of their initiatives and their focus on education and collecting data. So it's been wonderful to partner with all the organizations and to have them utilize this space, this community space, to share information and best practices with all our audience who are attending our series. Let's see here. And then this is just a reminder of what were the topics that we covered in 2025. We began the year with wanting to talk about from two local leaders that we have in Rochester, and their experience getting into the politics and voting, and so we wanted to hear from them. We've also had an episode about creating safe spaces in the workplace. We've had a legal perspective in the March episode, where we learned about how can you make your workplace more accessible, more inclusive from a legal space, and in the climate that we have, and how can we keep the family unit together, and what are the legal resources that we have in our community that you can provide as a leader in your organization to your colleagues, and to the people in your network. And like a little bit ago, the episode that we've had in April addressing the student and family homelessness project that was shared with us. We've had the participatory budgeting in May that talked about how can we involve more community members to be part of, not design, because our community talks about co-design a lot, but this is maybe the next phase. How can we involve more of us, more of this community to be part of setting the budgets for the city, for the government, for organizations? How can you, as a leader from an organization, involve some of the community members to be, to share their thoughts and opinions on how we can budget so we can have a better participation. And then we've heard from Julie Brock sharing kind of an overall about the program, the Equity in the Built Environment, as the program funding wrapped in June 2025, and she shared lessons learned and kind of the results of the program, and how did it impact workforce for BIPOC women in a built environment. And then we did have the episode that I talked a little bit about, which is the July episode, the history of disability rights in the Rochester community. And it was so awesome to partner with the Disability Summit, so they can utilize our space, and hopefully we continue this partnership in 2026. We did not have an episode in August, but we did have an episode in September, the American City for Health. As some of you may hear about, Destination Medical Center is going through their 10-year development plan update, and how does that impact you, and what do you think of the findings that they found so far, because your voices and engagement in that episode was included into shaping the next 10 years of DMC's work. And in October, we did have, Julie Ruzek present to us from Cradle to Career about utilizing data and data collection to drive a change, equitable change in Rochester. And then the last month episode, we did have from the state of Minnesota, the chief DEI, and sharing with us what are some of the resources and information that's available on the state level, and what does it take to make a change in the system to make it more equitable. So that's kind of a review of what we've done so far this year and what partnerships we had for 2025. And so let me go here. Oops, sorry. All right, so I will have you all use your cell phones and scan the QR code that you see on the screen and answer the question that I have. The question is, what was the most meaningful insight you gained from this year's Equity Series? And it's all right if you haven't, and this is your first episode, no pressure. But maybe from the quick summary that I shared with you all, what intrigued you and what insights you have benefited from. I'll give you all here a moment. Look at that. Keep them coming. And I'll start reading some of those. Better understanding of community needs. Collaboration is happening all around us and is moving the needle forward. Absolutely. Leaders, perspective, support, community, lots of ideas. New connections. Oh, that's really awesome to hear. Stories, data, both important, resources, impactful, community needs. I see my name on there, Wafa. Okay, well, I'm glad that I made it to the board. Opportunities. All right, this is really awesome. Do any of you would like to unmute and to share and elaborate more answering this question? I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but the question is, what was the most meaningful insight you gained from this year's equity series?
I can go ahead, Wafa.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um,
Welcome.
so yeah, mine was the collaboration is happening all around us and it's moving the needle forward. And I guess I just wanted to say that I think it's so easy to get entrenched in the negative and all the sound bites and the news articles of what's not happening or what's going wrong or how we're behind or this or that, right? And so I found that attending these regularly has really just restored my faith in this community and just the ways that we are being so intentional about collaboration and really how that is moving the needle forward. Like we are making positive progress and we hear those things shared on a month-to-month basis. And we see how just really that spirit of community and collaboration is helping us address these really complex issues. So I just love that these sessions really make me feel like, you know what, it's not about what's impossible, it's about what's possible when we work together.
Absolutely. Well said, Amanda. Thank you so much. Thank you all for sharing your insights. And I'm also admitting people, so I'm keeping an eye on that too. All right. So, oops, sorry. All right. So in this slide here, we wanted to kind of remind you all of some of the tools that we have discussed in the past 2.5 years. So not just only in 2025. As some of you may remember, our very first episode in the equity series talked about community wealth building and how can we have an anchor organization play a role in creating opportunities for communities to build wealth. And we did look at different examples from regional and national and international organizations. We've also shared diversity, equity, and inclusion organizational assessments and how important is that and how important to look within your organization to understand what are the barriers that you could be having for, from the community to benefit from your programs and from your initiatives. What are the, difficulties that your staff from underserved, underrepresented populations could be facing within your organization. We did also introduce the Racial Equity Dividends Index, and that was a presentation, if you all remember, in 2024 from the Center of Economic Inclusion, where they can actually assess the city, assess our county, assess private organizations, and establish that matrix for us in order to build from that matrix and build the growth, an equitable growth, whether in the workforce, and it did look into workforce, how many people are in leadership positions from underserved, underrepresented populations, pay assessments, and so forth. Organizational social justice commitments, and that was the example that we've heard from 3M, if you remember, and where the presentation focused on how 3M is doing a lot of work internally, whether through the assessments and creating procurement goals for the organization, having goals for vendors, suppliers, but also building capacity because they go along together. When they opened the opportunities and invited vendors in the community, like, hey, please apply. We're, focusing on creating opportunities for minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses. And they noticed that they're not seeing the responses fast. So that led to 3M also get into the space of capacity building and to get these businesses, set up. We did also hear from the Bloomberg project manager at the time, Julie Brock, on the IWE designation and how it's a tool that some of the organizations in our community have been utilizing to assess their organization before welcoming or opening the door for in specifically for the program for the BIPOC woman in a built environment, and how this assessment can be completed by, we have a numerous consultants locally here that they can complete this designation for you and for your organization. And you can find more information about that in the workforce development website. We did also take a look at the anti-displacement assessments and how decisions that when it comes to development and improvements in transit can impact communities and underserved communities, and we've seen an example from Rondo in the Twin Cities, and we've heard from the executive director of Rondo Community Land Trust, and we've also heard from Men Collaborative, the organization that does conduct these anti-displacement assessments. Also, we've heard from, at the time, our accessibility fellow, Jacob Metz, on organizational accessibility commitments. How can you make your organization more accessible, paying attention to physical and non-physical disabilities? And how can you make your website more accessible? How can you make your organization, your workspace more accessible for those with mobility challenges? And equitable engagement with youth. We've heard from RCI, one of the local organizations we have here that's led by youth. And they talked about how they would like to be engaged with. I love that episode, and it gives me so much hope to see that this is the future of our community. These are the future leaders of our community. We've also had Cara, who was a consultant and shared with us community benefit agreements. How can grassroots, underserved, underrepresented communities can play a role in drafting a community benefit agreement to make sure that their benefits that they're prioritized are prioritized by the city council, by the government, and so forth. We shared, legal resources for equitable workplaces. Oh, that's a misspelling there. Participatory budgeting, and we also talked about how important data collection is, that we don't just only rely on qualitative data, we need also the quantitative data, and to desegregate the quantitative data that we collect in order to understand where are the gaps and where are the disparities, so we can make change in our community and equitable change in our community. So these were some of the tools that we shared with you all in this space. And as we continue to think about new tools, new successes, new best practices to share in 2026, we wanted to kind of get your thought here, and I'll have you get your phone also. So to share with us which tools, practices, or ideas felt most useful or actionable. I'll give you here a moment. Okay. And if any of you are having any technical issues accessing the QR code, feel free to drop your thoughts in the chat. And I'll make sure that I read them once I stop sharing the screen, because I can only see my screen right now. So what tools, practices, or ideas felt most useful or actionable? Consulting opportunities, accessibility conversations, accessibility in business. I can see the chat. Indexing. General awareness, equity in youth development. And let me ask you this, out of these tools that we have shared in the equity series, did you hear about like the use of it within your organization or in the community? Is your organization thinking about using anti-displacement assessment or community benefit agreements or completing an equity index, doing a full diversity, equity, and inclusion assessment of your organization? Have you heard uh, from your organization or other organizations in the community that they have done some of these, completed these tools, used these tools? Okay. Examples, align, models, assessments, local, state. And if any of you want to unmute and share reflections or thoughts, feel free to do so. Remember, you're presenting today, not me. I'll have more quiet time soon. I just wanted to remind everyone of what we've done.
Hey,
Wafa,
Wafa, it's Brian here, Brian Falloon, with the school district community ed.
Hi,
I know,
Brian.
I know that we, as a community ed department, are undertaking a community needs assessment with a community education lens for sure. But I'm sure things like equity and indexing will come into play as we reach out to organizations in the community to see where they're at and what they've done in this kind of field in this sphere, and then hopefully put that all together in a kind of coherent package from our lens. And equity would obviously be a huge part of that across the range of services that are involved in community ed, everything from early childhood to adult education and so on.
Awesome. Thank you. John, I think you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
thank you. And thank you for all of your work this year and previously. I think that one of the things that I have taken away from this is we have a number of different business units that, focus on business startups, right? The SBDC and others. And I think that in our own board at Ready, I think this has helped me. The understanding I have gained from this relationship has helped us be more purposeful as we plan forward and making sure that we are serving all the community. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Well, thank you, John. This is awesome and this is inspiring for sure. And hopefully, we get to see more and more leaders from organizations in Rochester to continue attending. You've been always attending. So, if there is an award for someone who've been always attending, it's John Waits. I appreciate you always making this time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And let's go here.
Can I,
Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead, Al.
it seems like we have a lot of DEI efforts going on in our community. It would be nice to have a session to bring the local implementation to the surface so that we can see side by side what RPS is doing, what Mayo is doing, what IBM is doing, Area Foundation, etc. It would be nice to have a kind of a quick summary, side by side viewing our total efforts that currently implemented in our community. What we've learned so far from the previous sessions were general knowledge and best practices. It would be kind of nice to take an inventory and get a snapshot of what we know about, what's going on here.
I love this idea, Al. Thank you so much for sharing that. Maybe it can be our like follow up, because as you remember, and some of you may have attended our equity series event that we've had for December 2024. It was in-person event at the Chateau Theater. By the way, we were hoping to have one for this year, but scheduling, and we will work something out. Just stay tuned. But back to that December episode, where we've heard from Amanda from Rochester Area Foundation. We've heard from Rochester Public Schools, Olmsted County, Mayo Clinic, DMC, and the city, and they shared some of the commitments. But I love your suggestion, Al, because I think that could be like a follow-up to that panel. Again, invite the panels, invite those organizations, and to actually do comparisons and results between the programs and what they have adapted within their organizations. So I really love this idea. Thank you so much. And then the final question that I have here, where you're utilizing your phone, everyone, if you want to go ahead and use your phone and scan the QR code. Looking ahead to 2026, what equity topics, challenges, or opportunities feel most important for you, your organization, or community? So go ahead, drop those ideas and suggestions, because we want to make sure that we include them in our planning for 2026. I'll give it here a minute. As you all sharing your thoughts, ideas, opportunities that you think we should include for 2026. Connecting solutions with deficits, accessibility, environment now, anti-racist commitments and combating xenophobia, Islamophobia, encouraging and supporting diverse emerging developers. Love that. Sustainability, people and funding. Seeing actions turned into impacts. I love that. Do any of you would like to share more information about the ideas that you shared here? Global health, international humanity. And I'm also watching the chat as well. Listening sessions and conversations. Impacts and results of all those DEI efforts would be important. Absolutely. Would any of you would like to share more reflections or thoughts about what you're suggesting here?
Can you just, I don't want to boss anybody, but I'm trying to understand what encouraging and supporting diverse emerging developers.
Mhm.
what that means. I just don't know what that.
I can chime in that I should have indicated that
Thank you, Joe Marie.
I'm talking about housing.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's really top of mind is I've been working on a committee with Greater Minnesota Housing Fund and a number of different organizations, LISC and others throughout the state of Minnesota, who have had programs or pilot programs for emerging developers, especially those that are tied to NOAA projects, and kind of looking at establishing best practices and how we can move that forward collaboratively throughout the state. And so it's a little bit complex, but I would love to, I'm hoping that Wafa, we can make that a topic in 2027, 2026 going forward, sharing some of those best practices and how we can continue to collaborate so that there's more opportunities for folks that wanted to get into development that don't have experience can have, so that we can really set them up for success. Because some of the things that they faced have been real challenges. For example, insurance rates going up 70 to 100% this year and things like that really weren't anticipated in putting together their initial performers or their business plans. So
I had a feeling that that was you, Joe Marie, who wrote that down. Joe Marie and I have been in the space of working with emerging developers, recruiting emerging developers in Rochester, and also hear from many municipalities up north in the Twin Cities area, where they do have actually programs, City of St. Paul or City of Minneapolis, Hennepin County, that they do have actual programs that provides technical support for developers who are responding to RFP opportunities with in the city. Also, there are other organizations like Urban Land Institute and LISC, Greater Minnesota Housing Fund, that they do either provide capacity building classes that works with the emerging developers. How do you create your first performa and how do you build your capital stack and all of that, and also does provide pre-development assistance when it comes to the cost. So we've been in this space for quite some time, Joe Marie, and hopefully we do bring this topic. Yeah, I love the idea. Hopefully we bring it into the equity serious space, and hopefully we get to see a program in Rochester that helps emerging developers to access opportunities in Rochester. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the awesome ideas that you all shared. Global health meeting global humanity. I love that. The sustainability, seeing actions turn to impact, engaging more, accessibility. I love those ideas, and I'll make sure that I share those with my partner in the episodes, Chow, and as we plan 2026. Now, I want to share with you here a last question. What equity commitments are you or your organization intending to make in 2026? And there is no QR code to scan for this. I want to invite you all to unmute or use the chat, share your thoughts and ideas so we can share them with the rest of the group. What are some equity commitments you or your organization are intending to make in 2026?
Okay, I'm going to start.
You go ahead, Al.
I belong to the Mayor Norton's International Relations Committee. That the current focus has always been sister city. That sister visit us and we visit them. But I actually put a link in a chat here that I've been advocating that the International Relations Committee broaden its mission so it be alignment to the whole idea about we are model city, that we want to be America's city for health, that says we are a city where global health meets global humanity with this big picture. So the idea then is to say, using our international relations from the different programs, initiatives, including what the BIPOC groups are doing. And recently we have announced, you may have seen the announcement about the Community Culture Center has been launched.
Congratulations. I just
Yeah,
saw that. Congratulations.
right. So bring all those efforts together to really to motivate and really to demonstrate that we're not there yet, but we are on a journey, that we are building out this idea to really pushing for intercultural, multicultural, global health, where we, of course, destination medical center and all that, but we're health technical community, but also incorporating the humanity part. There's almost a heart and head combination of what we're doing. And I think we're unique in that sense in Rochester, that we're able to bring the spiritual sides as well as scientific side together, and to really bring in the whole ecosystem that has both the hard facts and the soft side of what it takes to really build a global city, city of health. In fact, I think I listened to DMC's meeting just now. I
Yeah,
think May actually talked about that a little bit. I think other people also touch upon that too. So
absolutely.
that's the
Thank
commitment
you.
I'm making. I'm just trying to basically attend these meetings as well as other meetings to kind of sermonize, evangelize, or whatever you want to, pushing or sow the idea that we can bring all these efforts together really to showcase that we are not just a single effort, but we are combining many different efforts together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Al, for sharing that. John, go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate the point very much. I think one of the key components we're missing, because it's easy to miss, because we have the great city of Rochester, the big old DMC, and of course Mayo Clinic. I'm a huge supporter of all three, for the record. But I think one of the things that we're missing more broadly in this group is the business community in general. It's always Mayo, and listen, I am like the biggest fan and supporter, but it's Mayo, and Al always mentions IBM, and that's always great too, and others. But there is a whole I mean, this is a very big community with a tremendous business community as well. And that's probably Wafa a topic for next year too. We probably ought to have the SBDC talk about how we do business development, and particularly in the startup space. But that said, I think we're missing a critical component because we talk to ourselves about from the city, DMC, and Mayo, and we think if we have that, we have it all. And it absolutely is missing an army of people out there that really are not engaged in these conversations. We make ourselves happy because we hear this and we believe in it. All of the work that's been going on since the start of this organization or this discussion group. I just think we need to be much more engaged more broadly with people that may not exactly see things the way we do. Thank you.
Thank you, John. This is really awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this, and hopefully we continue to grow the Equity Alliance and the Equity Series space where we get to see more representatives from businesses. It changes, and where we've seen some members from private organizations that they do attend, and then sometimes we don't see them. But your point, I totally agree with that because we do need to see more of them attend, and be part of these conversations and hear from them. Shelley, you have your hand up.
do. Hello, Wafa. Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
It's not like me to raise my hand and speak. So that is part of what I want to say. It's for this year, for 2026, I want to challenge myself to speak up more. I'm really interested in a theory of accompaniment. And so when I do social justice work, I'm more interested in the people part of what I'm working on. I think sometimes the city wants people to reach out to them. And I think one of the things that needs to happen is that we need to make it more comfortable for people to speak up and speak out. And that was what I wanted to say earlier. I'm not real good at in the moment speaking, but I do think that coming to events like this or coming to this every month is much easier for me than attending a council meeting. And I feel more comfortable. I like listening to what people are saying, and I hear so many different things, and I have a terrible memory and I can't remember everything all the time. But I think that this atmosphere is a little easier to parse information, to talk about things. One of the things I did put in the QR code, the last one.
Yeah.
I think I jumbled a couple words together, but it was talking about accessibility, especially in the built environment. And I gave the example of snow removal. And so I saw two words together right in the results. And that didn't make much sense. So I wanted to clarify that.
Well, thank you so much, Shelley, for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you. And I don't have much more. I just wanted to say thank you for all this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shelley, for being here and for sharing your insights and thoughts and reflections with us. Dustin, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I just wanted to follow up with, well, first I was trying to figure out how to raise my hand on here to follow up with John, and then Shelley almost said the same thing I was going to say, but I think the beautiful thing, Wafa, is what you're doing here. And to John's point, if you've lived in Rochester a long time, we have a business that does different stuff. That's, my wife and I, Rashida, that's trying to meet some mental wellness needs and some diversity needs and some other things. But if you don't go to Mayo or you don't go to IBM and you've lived in Rochester a long time, you don't know anything else exists. And luckily we happen to have met Wafa at a fundraiser, and it's like, wow, there's this whole world of opportunity we don't even know about. And I would say that's something that if we can figure out, and I think it's similar to what Shelley was saying too, if we can figure out how to get that information out to people and they don't just go back and rely, because, like any corporation, and I agree, I've worked at Mayo for 25 years, so I'm only supplemental now, but previously I did. So I love Mayo, but accessibility to results at a big corporation like that doesn't get there. And that's just what I really felt was a blessing meeting with Fa and getting to be here with all you guys. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dustin. And what is the name of your business? Oh, you're on mute, Dustin.
So MindMax Institute is my wife and my coaching business. And she also has a business called Somali Navigator, which is presentations to my wife, Somali. And but she came to the West when she was very young. So she really does a great job of navigating both worlds and being able to kind of maybe say the hard things that to organizations or education facilities that some people might not kind of retract from. She does a great job of talking about her experience and figuring out how to build bridges rather than burn them. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you joined us this month, and hopefully we get to see you every month and bring more businesses. See, John, we have a business attending today. Let's bring more. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing your reflections. I want to give a special gratitude and appreciation to Mr. Al Lunn. Thank you so much, Al, for sharing the information about the equity series. If you all haven't visited his website, DMC Beam, the way you have it even laid out in there with all the episodes and keywords and information, it's so beautiful to see, and we really appreciate it. And thank you so much, Al, for staying on top of it and sharing it with um, the communities you're connected with, and sharing the information of all the episodes that we have been hosting so far. So thank you, Al. Thank you so much.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to give a moment also, if Amanda, if you're still with us here, if you want to share some information about what's happening in December and in January.
Sure. Well, I was going to share, hopefully I can put this in the chat. One opportunity that is actually going to be this evening. Bear with me. I'm just going to put the flyer. Maybe it doesn't let me. It might not let me do a photo. But we do have our Coming to the Table event tonight. It's from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at Rochester Public Library. We do this meeting quarterly. And so everyone is invited. We do kind of base it around a different topic each quarter. And so this topic for December's meeting will be media bias. And really just talking about the intersections of that with so many different things, including racism, including xenophobia, including Islamophobia. So come prepared to have a conversation. Thank you, Al, for the assist here, putting the link in the chat. We also do have, so I'm a board member at NAMI Southeast Minnesota as well, and there is an opportunity coming up next week for online class where it will focus on the stories of folks from all different cultural backgrounds and their own journeys around healing and recovery in the mental health space, and just how that looks a little bit different for each different community. So I believe that if you hold your phone up to the screenshot that Wafa has up, that it will take you to the link to register for that. So I welcome you to join us for that. And then also, of course, have to plug that we will have our upcoming chamber event for MLK Day, and highly encourage you to register for that. And it looks
The
like
one I
there could
have
be
on the
another
screen, Amanda, this is the state of Minnesota's event. I haven't seen
Oh,
information about our local MLK event,
wonderful.
but if you all ever in the Twin Cities area from the 15th to the 19th of January, there's several events happening around Martin Luther King Day. So I just wanted to share that, and Amanda will keep you posted as she continues to share all the upcoming events. And when we hear about if we're having the MLK breakfast here and that.
Yes, I believe that the chamber started sharing some information about that. I did see a link. So I do believe registration is open because I did register, and that event is on January 19th itself. So I highly
Awesome.
encourage you to get registered. It's always a wonderful event and we learn a lot. And the most important thing is we come together as community and we get to have that time together. So.
Absolutely. And where can people find your group on LinkedIn?
Well, I have, I would say in the interim here, if you're interested in getting added to either our LinkedIn or Facebook private DEI practitioner groups, if you wouldn't mind putting your information in the chat, just an email, I can get you connected with those links. I also do send out usually only about once a month. That's what Fa was referring to. Just an update email. I know Al is also very good about sending out opportunities. So I would say if you want to share your email, get on both the lists that Al and I have and get connected with more community opportunities. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you for all you do. And follow the groups on Facebook, on LinkedIn, as Amanda shared. I also just want to remind you all that our next episode is going to be January 14th, 2026. And I'll stop sharing here. And I want to thank you all for joining us today for the December episode. I know it's a difficult time in our community, and I just want to end with expressing my full support and solidarity with our Somali community, because the Somali community is our neighbors, business owners, families, youth, and they're a vital part of the fabric of the city. And any attack on them is an attack on all of us. And hopefully that we can be there for one another and to show support to our Somali community. I know that they've had a gathering this past Sunday on 125 Live. But there is a lot of work. Part of a personal commitment that you can all do is to check on your neighbors and check on the businesses. A lot of these businesses are not as integrated in the community because they're serving a specific community needs. So visiting those businesses, checking on them, and I see our friend Khadija from Pamoja Women. Please visit the pantry when it's open. Check on Khadija, because the pantry is servicing not only the Somali community, servicing anyone who is in need of accessing food. So I hope that you all enjoyed today's episode. I appreciate you taking the time and sharing all these reflections. And Chow and I will keep you posted as we look into 2026, plan, bring some of those ideas you shared with us. And also, hopefully, we will have the in-person event for the equity series, just like the end of 2024. So thank you so much. And I don't know if anyone has any questions or anything before we conclude.
Thank you for the great job, Wafa. You do a tremendous job. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll stop the
Thank
recording.
you.
Have a great
Thank you. The
Okay.
best.